Okay, we are streaming and recording, so you
Okay.
can go ahead.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock on the dot. Good evening, everyone. This is the May 28th meeting of the Danbury Zoning Board of Appeals. Here tonight to hear the following applications from the legal notice. Pursuant to Executive Order Number 7I, Section 19C, notice is hereby given that items number 20-14, 2015, and 2016 will be heard. Do we have a motion to hear those applications?
Make a motion to hear 2014
Mr. Hannah makes a motion.
and 2015, 2016.
Seconds? Who seconds? Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Mr. Sibbett seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. For the record, this being a virtual meeting, we're going to go down through the roll call for the record. So please respond with yes or yo or whatever your style is. Mr. Hannah,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rivas,
Present.
Mr. Sibbett,
Here.
Mr. DeLucia.
Yes, sir.
And again, I'm Rod Moore, acting chairman. Just before we begin, I want to go over a couple of things. One is we also have on staff here, we have at the helm, we have Sharon Colito. So if you're making too much noise or if we're out of order, she will make sure that we stop doing that. She's at the controls. Also, Sean Hardy, the Director of Permit Coordination and the Zoning Enforcement Officer, and Mary Larkin, the Zoning and Planning and Zoning Secretary. So welcome to our staff as well. The way this works is the applicant comes forward, presents their application. Then anyone else who's here to speak in favor of that application has the opportunity. Then anyone who's here opposed also has that opportunity to oppose. And if there is opposition, the applicant will have a chance to address or rebut any of those objections. We will, I want tonight to let us go back to the way we normally do this, in that we will continue with the 3 public hearings, closing each one individually, and then we'll go to an voting session to vote on all 3 of them in that voting session. Hopefully it'll run a little smoother, a few less motions and seconds and all that kind of thing. So with that said, anyone here to hear application number, let's see, can we get it here?
2014.
Yeah, let me get 20, too many papers. Yes, 2014, De Silva, Joseph Jr., 2 National Place, CBD zone. Anyone here for that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm here for that one.
Okay.
In here.
For the record, my name's Tom Beecher and I represent the property owner and applicant, Joseph De Silva Jr. Mr. De Silva is with us here tonight. This particular subject property is 2 National Place, which is on the corner of White Street and National. It was originally the home of the Village Bank, if you remember that far back. And then it was Webster Bank. And then for a period of 10 years, it was the Paul Mitchell School. So this building has previously been used as a school of sorts, a hairstyling and beauty salon school at this location. When I was here last month in front of you for the school proposal for Bob Botello over on Granville Avenue, I had no idea about this project at that particular time. But as you recall, last month, we discussed the fact that Danbury is in need of more schools and more school space. The Danbury Prospect Charter School is the prospective tenant for this particular building. And this particular school is not directly under the umbrella of the Danbury Board of Education. However, the city certainly wants this school. First, it's an excellent charter school program that the Prospect Charter School does. It's certified by the state of Connecticut, and it has received over $4 million in grant funding for this particular project. Second, and perhaps more importantly, an additional good school like this will be a relief valve for the Danbury schools. It would allow Danbury students to go to an excellent alternative choice. And at the same time, for each student that enrolls in this particular charter school, that frees up one classroom space that the Danbury Board of Education needs to find. You may have seen it, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but 2 weeks ago, there was a headline on the front page, overcrowded schools work to add spaces. And this highlights that, the 2 applications I've been involved with over the last month. But what's become even more clear over the last 2 months due to this unfortunate pandemic is the fact that school space is now even going to be more at a premium, assuming students go back to school in the fall. There's going to have to be the social distancing of classrooms. So it's even more of an issue for the city at this point in time. This excellent school alternative is not paid for out of the Board of Education of the City of Danbury budget. So it's a win for the City of Danbury taxpayers in that respect. Lastly, Danbury is one of the few cities in the state of Connecticut that has no charter school whatsoever. There are 23 charter schools in the state, but there are none here in Danbury. So this school is a win-win. As I said to you in my letter that I sent in with the application, this program would be for students in grades 6 through 8. Initially, it will just be for 100 6th grade students. That's the way it will start. In the past, this board actually issued a similar variance for lot size to Jim Maloney's nonprofit organization for the Head Start Early Learning Center over at 29 Park Avenue. And that was an existing building as well. And again, that actually turned out to be a very nice school addition for the city. The property's been fixed up very nicely if anybody's had the chance to go over and take a look at that. Let me now talk a little bit about this property and the requested variance. The subject property is located in the Central Business District Zone. If you all had a chance to look at the survey, and we'll see if we can bring it up. The property is, I don't want to go that far. The property is located, as I said, on National Place, which is right here, and White Street, which is out here, and there's actually Patriot Drive to the rear of the property. And there are no...
Excuse me 1 second. Mr. Chairman, it's Sharon. So Tom, we can't see the plan.
Yeah.
You have to bring it up on a separate tab, the plan itself. We just see your actual files.
Oh.
So you have to open the tab, or maybe, Rod, do you have it on yours?
I can do it. Take a second here. Yeah.
We just saw your files, Tom.
That work?
Yep, there you go.
Yeah?
That's better. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Hey, I'm adapting. That's okay. Thanks for the tip. So as I was saying, it actually fronts on 3 streets. There are no exterior changes planned for the property. The building is here. And then you will see that there's quite a bit of parking for staffing. Again, it's going to initially be for 6th graders, so they will not be driving to school. The property is right next door to the Patriot Garage, which is right over here. And then diagonally in this direction is actually the City Center Danbury Green, which is adjacent to this property and across from the Patriot Garage. I also submitted photos of the property to you. And we'll see if we can do that one a little quicker. That one, can you see it?
Got the map here again. There you go.
There you go.
So here's a picture of the front taken from National Place, obviously by our friends at Google Maps, which makes life a little easier sometimes to get some photos. I submitted these pictures to you. The school is a permitted use in this zone. So this is not a request for a use variance. The central business district zone regulations have certain special requirements for schools if they're to be located in the central business district. And this particular site can comply with all but one of those requirements. Section 5F4D1 requires that the school site be a minimum of 2 acres. Again, as I said, this is an existing site with an existing building that's perfectly suited and perfectly located for use as a school. The variance is not needed to build the building. It's merely to use the existing building and property for this permitted use. Interestingly, schools are permitted in other zones on just a minimum of 1 acre, not 2, such as in the R3, the RMF4, the RMF6, the RMF10 residential zones. I really do not see why smaller is okay in a residential zone, but 2 acres is required in the CBD, but that's the hardship in the regulations for this particular property. This variance that we need, it's not for setbacks, it's not for anything else to allow us to construct anything. We're not constructing anything. We're not seeking variances to shoehorn a proposed project into a piece of property. The building is already there. It just happens that in some zones you need 1 acre for a school, and in this zone you need to have 2 acres. As on Granville Avenue, this would be a small school and in an existing building. Under these circumstances, a variance of this particular 2 acre requirement will not cause any detriment to this particular neighborhood or this area of the city. And certainly it's not going to have any impact on health, safety, and welfare. So I think it's a good proposal. I think it's an excellent school. I think it's a win-win for the city. And I would ask you to grant our request. Thank you.
Hey, I have one question, Tom. 100 students initially, 6th graders. What is the ultimate estimate on when it's 6 through 8, the number of students, and when it's fully up and running?
Yeah, I think it would be roughly triple that, but I don't know. Joe, do you have any other information on that?
No, I don't have any number of students when they max out and they're the next classes. I wouldn't know. I would anticipate 100 also, thereabouts. I guess that's yet to be determined.
Approximately how many classrooms? Any idea?
I think it's the way it sits today, 2 downstairs, 4 upstairs. So there would be a total of 6.
There'd be big classes.
There's somewhere around between 24 and 28 students in each classroom is what they've talked about.
Okay. Anyone else? By the way, for the record, that's Joseph De Silva Jr. Speaking. Anyone else to speak in favor?
Question.
Yeah, a question, yes.
Yes, as far as safety along the Still River, will there be a fence on top of the wall that's there to keep the kids from jumping in the river? Seeing as how there's no playground area or anything like that?
As far as it hasn't been discussed, it hasn't come up, but it's a good point. They were a pretty responsible group. They operate down in the middle of Brooklyn. So I think they're used to keeping kids contained in their environment. And I think putting a fence up wouldn't be Wouldn't be a big deal. It's the city's wall. If I'm not mistaken, we'd have to get permission from the city to put a fence on it, maybe a 3 or 4 foot high fence. Maybe they can go in front of the wall. Probably on top of the wall would look better.
There is a concrete retaining wall along there, isn't there, Joe?
Yeah, it's about, I'd say it's about 4 feet high. It's about chest high now, and it's part of the river control system. So I can, like they did on Main Street, they put a short 2-foot fence, kind of a square rail, and I don't know if that would be acceptable, or it would be a black chain link fence. Probably something more decorative would suited that area.
So they're actually, looking at that, on the map right in front of me again, is there any place for a playground or some outdoor recreational space on that lot?
Tom, you want me to take that?
Yeah, the frontage in from White Street is pretty extensive. If you happen to have the application in front of you, there is one shot taken directly at the building, a picture taken directly at the building from White Street. I don't have that one available to throw up quickly right now, but there's a fair amount of green space as you look back towards the building.
Let's see.
It would face the White Street, more on the White Street side.
Right.
The White National corner. There's a good green area. Plenty of room to have a small playground in there.
I think we're looking at this one. Let me see here. Well, I don't want to belabor it. The photos are not coming up here, so let's let that go. Anyone else to speak in favor or any other questions?
I have a quick question. With the lot size, will there be public transportation for these children, or how is that being organized as far as dropping off students, picking up students? Are they doing a drop off of White Street, or are they going into the property to drop off?
That hasn't been spoken about in great detail. Depending on the frequency of the trips, they could pull into the site. And if they're going to use a small bus or a large bus, if it's a small bus, the site would be acceptable for that. The large buses would dump off right in front of the school, closer to the parking garage, I would imagine. And that would be the main entryway into the space. There's pretty good space over there. There's quite a bit of room. I think that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? All right, no further questions from anyone on the board? None, okay. All right, do I have a motion to close 20-14?
I make a motion to close 20-14.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Siver seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all in favor? Okay. Next application. 20-15.
Are we gonna go into a voting session?
No, I was saying earlier, I think, let's just do all the voting at the end. It's just in and out with all the different motions and whatnot.
Sounds good.
All right, okay. 20-15, West Myrie Holdings, 4149 Myrie Brook Road. Someone here to represent them.
Yes, Chairman, Ben Dodo, I'm here.
Thank you, Ben.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the ZBA. I'm here tonight representing West Myrie Holdings, LLC. They're located at 41 and 49 Myrie Brook Road. I'm going to put a map up right now, so I'm going to try to share my screen here. Can everyone see this?
We're just
Oh.
looking at your file list.
Nope.
Didn't open up.
No, you gotta just open it in a separate tab. And then share that tab.
I can't believe that didn't open up for everyone. All right, let me try it again. How about that time?
No,
No.
All right, I'll try again. Sorry about this. Is it working this time, I hope?
No.
Oh, shoot. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here.
hey,
No.
Ben, it's Sharon. So just open it up on a separate tab. Each tab, like the PDF has to be open.
Okay,
And then share the open tab. So close out of what you're in that right now. Or I can just stop the sharing.
okay. Let me just open all
Here.
these up.
Yeah, open them up individual on a single tab, each individual PDF, and then you'll be able to share each one of those. Or whichever one you want. Can we see this?
No.
Oh, what am I doing?
No.
I've been doing this for weeks. All right.
You can just tell everybody to close their eyes, Ben, and just vision.
No, it's actually annoying me, Sean, right now that I'm not able to do this.
Now you hit it the last couple times.
I know.
I have one here. Is this the one you're looking for, Ben, or the other one?
There you go, Rodney.
Yeah.
Which one's that, Rod? I'm sorry.
That's the, let's see, that's the, which one is that?
That's the topo survey.
Yeah, topo server. Do you want
Okay.
that one?
Well, I'll start with that one. That one's fine.
All right.
I apologize, everyone.
Hold on one second, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, because Mary must have gotten bumped out. Let me make sure. Are you back in, Mary?
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, again, sorry about that, everybody. It's an existing site, 41 and 49 Myrie Brook Road. The site itself has an existing hangar. It's a 10,940 square foot hangar that's over by the road. That's currently 49. There's a 10,200 square foot hangar. It's an old T hangar that's sort of the middle building on the site. And way back in the rear, building 41 is a 3,400 square foot sort of an industrial building. The proposal is to take down the middle building and the rear building and construct a 28,400 square foot hangar. And if I can get the site plan on here, that's sheet CL1, whoever's in control here, since I obviously am not able to do this.
Okay. 1 second here. Site plan.
It'll be CO1R2, Rod, probably.
I think that's it right there, right?
Let's see here.
It
Okay,
shows
yes.
the proposed.
Yep. Great. So basically the proposal is to, in the middle here, to construct a 28,000 square foot hangar and take down the old T hangar and the number 41 at the rear. This property is all located, it's all on private property, but it's located inside the airport fence. And as required in the zoning regulations, as you guys are more than aware, we have landscape requirements. And we're here tonight to ask for a variance to 2 sections of the regulations, 6C2B and 8C3B1. And it's basically to eliminate the continuous perimeter planting strip along the front yard and require that it not include trees and shrubs, that it just be a grassed lawn. We're not asking to reduce it. We're not asking to pave over it. We're just asking for the front between the existing building and the road be a grassed lawn, and to permit us not to plant trees there. 7 total trees is required based on our frontage. There's also a spot right behind between the 2 hangars, the current one and the proposed one, where we have a row of 7 parking spaces. We're asking that we not plant the landscape island trees there. This plan, we prepared it back in January originally. We submitted it to the FAA for approval. They have to look at the, they have to evaluate it from their standpoint as far as obstructions, both vertical and horizontal. We received FAA approval on April 29th of this year. We have been in communication with the airport administrator, Mike Safranek, who's actually here tonight as well. I see him on the video there. He is in support. I will let him speak when I'm finished here, but we did talk to him about this before we made an application at ZBA, just to confirm what we always know, that trees are not wanted inside the airport. This is a hangar use, is a special exception use. If these variances are so granted, we will need to make an application to the Planning and Zoning Commission for this hangar. But again, we need the variances in order not to plant the trees and shrubs. And that's really my presentation tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or I see that Mike is here. I know Mike had written a letter to the ZBA as well, correct, Mary? That's on the record.
Yes, I have. In fact, I'll let Mike speak, but I have the letter. If
Okay.
He can read it into the record, or I'll read it.
Okay, I'll be
let
happy
Mike
to
go ahead.
answer any questions, or let Mike speak if he chooses to tonight.
All right. Any, Mike, are you gonna? Oh, you're muted.
I get that a lot. Mr. Chairman and members of the GBA, I appreciate your time. I wasn't sure if the letter was going to get on the agenda, so that's why I wanted to make sure I'm here. You want me to read it, or would you like me to just give you the overview?
Sure, why don't you just read it into the record? You
Okay.
have a better radio voice than I do. Go ahead.
That's good and bad sometimes. Dear Mr. Chairman and members, I submit to you the following opinion for item 20-15, West Myrie Holdings LLC. The airport would ask that you grant this application and eliminate the requirement of trees and shrubs. Since this property is located inside the airport perimeter, the trees and shrubs will be on aviation zone property. Trees and shrubs are completely inconsistent with the safe operation of an airport. Trees and shrubs attract wildlife, specifically birds. Birds are a very major detriment to a safe airport. Bird strikes and such have caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage over the last several years here at Danbury alone. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Michael Safranek, Airport Administrator.
Thank you, Michael. Any other comments? Any questions? No questions. Anyone else here tonight to speak in favor of the application? Anyone opposed? No opposition. Well then, do we have a motion to close 20-15?
I make a motion to close 2015.
Second.
Mr. Hannah makes a motion, Mr. Sibbett seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Thank you. The board, if you don't stick around, will inform you of their decision.
Thank you.
20-16. Get to the bottom of the pile here. The Women's Center of Greater Danbury, Inc. Rose Hill Avenue. A number of variances requested. Anyone here to speak in favor? Someone is sharing.
I think that's Ben.
No, I think it's
that's
Peter.
Ben.
Is it Peter or is it me? Peter.
Ben's screen.
It's Ben, it's your screen.
You see me?
It's
Yeah.
Ben's screen.
It might work here, Ben. Hang on a second.
All right, let's try it.
Something's happening.
Something's
Yeah,
happening.
something's loading.
This could be it.
Hmm. Blue line is almost.
Yeah,
Almost.
for Ben's sake. Oh,
There
nice.
you go.
Can we see that, everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Good evening. My name is Peter Olsen. I'm an attorney in Bethel. My office is at 275 Greenwood Avenue, and my firm name is Land Use and Conservation Counsel. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Women's Center of Greater Danbury, Inc., which is the applicant, and it is represented by Eric Egan, who's got the nice white bookshelf behind him on the various screens. He's the chairman of the board of the Women's Center. The city of Danbury is the owner of this property at 89 Rose Hill and miscellaneous other property addresses and assessor map ID numbers. What Ben is showing you is a parcel map, well, a site plan based on a parcel map that has two parcels, parcel 1 and parcel 2, which is the result of a first cut that we filed on May 7th, map 13628. And we were able to do that based on a variance that you granted at the end of April to allow various frontage issues to be resolved. So that map has now been recorded and it is officially two parcels. I'm sure the assessor will catch up at some day. The Women's Center is the contract purchaser of parcel 1. We have an agreement with the city of Danbury to buy it. And that agreement involves the city obtaining grant money from the state of Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to conduct environmental remediation on the site, getting it ready for us and then turning it over to us. The city has received that grant money. The environmental remediation is well underway. Presumably it'll take a couple of months to wrap that up, and it involves moving a lot of dirt around and removing some dirt. Our intention with the property is to conduct a transitional housing facility that will help us better serve our clients that we currently serve around the corner. We have worked with staff to secure text amendments to the RH3 zone that specifically identified transitional housing authority as a separate use that's allowed in the zone with certain criteria. And we've also previously worked with the city to secure variance from this board that allowed that first cut. Tonight, we're asking you for 6 variances. These all relate to the position of the building on the property fundamentally, which is required because of the compliance with the flood requirements of the Danbury zoning regulations. The building right now is pretty much in the only location possible on the 2 properties together. And I'm going to turn it over to Ben and let him explain to you what happened when we had to locate the building there. So Ben, why don't you take us through the variances?
Okay, good evening. For the record, Benjamin Dodo, representing the applicant. I am the civil engineer for this project. And as Peter had just mentioned, this site, it's the old Mallory Hat Factory. You're familiar with it. Most of you, if you were to drive by there today, you'll see some remediation going on the property that the city is currently doing. The proposal is to build a 10,400 square foot building toward the rear of the property. It's about 400 feet back. Just to get a sense, here's the map. Here's the railroad track trestle. Here's Fairfield Processing. And right across the street there's an existing driveway there right now, an old driveway. Our proposal is to extend that driveway, put a cul-de-sac in. We thought it was a nicer feature than a rectangular parking lot. And again, we don't need much parking at this facility. And then the building right behind it. The variances that we're asking for today are, I'm going to go over what the variances are first, and then I'm going to explain how we got here. I think that's the easiest way because it was all driven by running the flood model and being able to comply with both the city of Danbury's floodplain requirements and also the state of Connecticut's DEEP flood management certification, which we have received already. We did that process at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So basically, the 2-dimensional requirements we're asking for, or excuse me, relief we're asking for, is to reduce the side yard over right on this side here from 20 to 15 feet, because the new property line that the city has is right here. So again, the side yard requirement in this zone is 20 feet, and we're asking that it be reduced to 15. Likewise, in the back property line is right here. The rear currently is 25-foot setback, and we're asking for this little portion here to be 20. Again, it's 20 feet, but in reality, it's 45 feet to the other side of the Still River. Nothing will ever be between the Still River and this building. Likewise, on the north side, we're 15 feet to the property line, but in reality, we're 80 feet to the other side of the Still River and the nearest property owner over on that side. And even those properties are at the bottom of a long hill and whose houses are way up here on top. So these side yard variances, and you'll see in a moment why they need to be where they are. The next set of variances have to do with design standards. The RH3 zone has some design standards that they make sense. They have to do with, they like to have the buildings located up front, closer to the road, so you create a street wall. Imagine if you were putting condos or townhomes or office buildings of the like, or just like if you're on Main Street or Deer Hill, you have the buildings favoring the road. There are some design standards in the RH3 zone that ask that the building be placed at the street wall. The street wall is usually defined as sort of where all the buildings line up along the street. And in this neighborhood, it's really not the case. We don't have a whole row of buildings along the front here. In fact, we have Fairfield Processing that's probably 10 feet from the road. We have a railroad track. We have the Beaver Street apartments across the street from us. So we really don't have a defined street wall. Then the next one talks about the mean setback. So if you don't have a street wall, but say you have buildings that are 20, 30, 40, 50, they ask that you sort of be in line with that as well. Again, we don't have that here. The next one is that you put the parking behind the building. And that typically makes obvious sense because it, you know, when you have developments and you have the building close to the road, the parking, you know, gets de facto screened behind the building. But again, that's not the case here because the only place on this site that we were able to put the building is right here. And I'll show you that in a minute. So by putting the building back here and the sake that the river's here, the parking had to go in front. And just to get a sense, the building itself is about 400 feet from the road. And the parking's about 300 feet from the road. So again, we're well back from the street. We're not on any, you know, in anyone's, you know, front yard, backyard, anything like that. I'm going to open up a flood map because just to get a sense of, I'm going to draw it here first. We all know where Fairfield Processing is. This is the Still River under their parking lot, and it flows this way. The Still River then goes under the Rose Hill Ave Bridge, which is right here. There's an opening on either side of the bridge. So water is able to, if it's under pressure, spill out. Then through the site, there's an underground culvert that runs right through here. Then the Still River is an open channel as it wraps around the building, only to go back through a culvert. The modeling of this was incredibly complicated. Tata and Howard did it, and they did it sort of with our assistance, my assistance, and our surveying team. We modeled the river from behind Kingswood Kitchen all the way to Kennedy Flats in order to make this work. So I'm going to go to show you the existing flood map right here. And just to get a sense of where we are, can everyone see this, I hope?
Yep.
Okay. To get a sense of where we are, I'm going to draw on here as well. Here's Fairfield Processing down at the bottom. Here's the railroad tracks. And here's Rose Hill Ave. Our site is right here. All the red lines you see, those are just cross sections that we had to develop to prepare our model. But the most important part of this model is this navy blue line here that I'm tracing right here. This is the 100-year floodplain. So in theory, when we get the 100-year event, water isn't just contained in the Still River culvert or the Still River channel. It floods. It goes down Kingswood Kitchen driveway. It goes under the railroad trestle. And it's very shallow here, but it still flows overland on our site. Some of it's contained in the river. As it goes beyond the site, some spills out back onto Rose Hill, where that blue tarp is hanging that you see when you drive down Kennedy at the end of the road there. So we initially designed this site and we tried to meet the zoning requirements. We tried to put the building out front here. And every time we did, it simply didn't work. It kept taking our flood water and backing it up the hill and onto neighbors' properties. No matter what we did, no matter how much material we removed from the back, the flood model just simply didn't work. It's sort of like if you were to, during a rainstorm and there's a gutter in the road and you put your foot in it, the water backs up and goes up and around you. And it's sort of the same thing here. So the only way to make this site work was, if you can see this blue line here that I'm tracing, this is the 100-year floodplain. And everything inside here is dry and does not flood when you get the 100-year storm. So the thinking was, let's put the building here, because no matter what we do here, the 100-year flood never touches here. Therefore, we wouldn't back up water onto off-site and onto neighbor sites and raise the profile on our site. So we ran that model, and here we are. You can see this is the proposed conditions. And again, ignore the red lines. They're just cross sections as part of the model. But you could see the yellow footprint of the building is right here. The blue line is the 100-year floodplain. So we're not altering it. We're not impacting it. In fact, with the site design, we're removing about 900 cubic yards of material from the site and parking lot area over here. But the net effect was that we're able to comply with floodplain requirements of the city and of the state, and obviously with FEMA. We are reducing our drainage runoff from the site, mainly because we're taking out that whole concrete slab that's there from the old Mallory Hat Factory and putting a lot more green space back in. The building itself is going to be 3.5 feet above the 100-year floodplain. The design standard is typically 1 foot above. So just to get a sense, again, here's the building. This building will be 3.5 feet above the 100-year floodplain, and it's going to actually be 1 foot above the 500-year floodplain. We don't have to design for the 500-year floodplain, but we had the ability to do it in this case. So again, our hardships here were all driven by being able to comply with the floodplain regulations. We're not asking for any variances with respect to health and safety. One of the challenges, as your commission knows, is having a means of dry egress from a site if the site were to flood and people had to get in and out of the building. We're providing that dry egress. There's a path. It's like a raised boardwalk like you would have to a beach. It goes this way, and we can get up here and get to Rose Hill Ave up here. This completely complies with the city zoning regulations, and it was approved as part of our flood management certification with the state of Connecticut DEP. Usually we don't even go to that level on projects, but in this case we had to because of the mechanics of the remediation and the Women's Center being the contract purchaser. We are at 11.5% building coverage. This site, when it's done, will be heavily landscaped from the road. As far as fitting in with the neighborhood, it'll more than fit in with the neighborhood that's currently there today. We're not asking for any coverage variances or anything of that nature. But as you saw from the proposed flood map, where the yellow footprint is relative to the blue floodplain, we had no choice but to put the building here. Part of the DEP approval also included that we prepare an emergency management plan that they have to approve. That was part of our application to the DEP. They've already approved the emergency management plan. And that involves what happens if a 100-year flood is coming or something greater. And in this case, we're simply going to evacuate the building. There's no need for people to stay here and park their cars. But if they were there and the site did flood, they'd still be dry. Cars would get wet, but that's why the plan is to, we had to have an emergency management plan, which they like to see. Again, our hardships are all related to that. There is one hardship that is sort of not related to the flood, but it indirectly is. And it is the requirement that parking be screened by adjacent properties. Our parking lot right here at the end of the cul-de-sac has a 5-foot sidewalk that goes along it. Right there. Here's the property line. There's no ability to screen this parking from the city of Danbury's piece. But again, we're about 50 feet plus and across the Still River, which is loaded with vegetation on both sides, to the neighbor. So there's really no need to screen this parking because the neighboring piece is owned by the city and it's never going to be developed. So that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Sorry to go on a long time about the flood study, but I just wanted to show you that there was a lot of work that went into this in order to get to where we are today. And this is the only location that we can put this building and make the project viable and safe.
Okay.
Thanks, Ben. That was a great summary of why we needed the hardships, and I can just cross off the rest of my comments because you hit all of them. Well, not all of them. I do want to add in that the shape of the lot does create an additional hardship. We needed to draw the lot line where it is to make sure we had two viable lots under the zoning regulations, and to keep the entire Still River plus the Still River culvert, which is the dashed line right where Ben's pencil is, all on the parcel that's going to be retained by the city. Our discussions with the city have been that property will never be used for anything. We're expecting it to be, landscaped as not as a park, but just as an open space area. So with that, I'll conclude. And again, Ben offered to answer any questions. We're happy to do that. And we'll go from there.
All right. Any questions for Ben or Peter? Crickets.
Good.
No questions. No questions. All right. Anybody here to speak in opposition to this? More crickets. All right. Do we have a motion to close 20-16?
I make a motion to close 20-16.
Mr. Sibbett?
Second.
Mr. Hannah seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all. Motion to go into executive session to vote on the 3 applications, discuss and vote. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to go on a voting session.
Thank you, Mr. Hannah.
Second.
Peter seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 20-14, Danbury National Place. I'm still looking at maps. My eyes are like, it's 20-14, Joseph Da Silva Jr. 2 National Place. This is, of course, to allow the use of a school in less than 1 acre, actually less than 2 acres on a 1 acre parcel. Any comments, questions, discussions, motions?
I make a motion to approve 2014 Da Silva Joseph Jr. 2 National Place, CBD zone, Section 5F 4D, 1 reduced minimum lot size from 2 acres to 0.98 acres. It's existing building and existing site, and so the city of Danbury need a school. They don't have enough, and if needed to put a fence toward the Still River, Mr. Da Silva said he was willing to put a fence there. It's good for the community, for the city of Danbury, and as per plan submitted.
Second.
Okay. Mr. DeLuca, second for Mr. DeLuca, I guess. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show that the motion passed unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you very much, folks.
All right, 20-15, West Marybrook Holdings, 4149 Marybrook Road. Anybody have any further questions, comments, concerns, discussions, or motions?
I make a motion to approve 2015 West Mary Holding LLC, 41 and 49 Marybrook Road, IL 40 zone, to allow the continuous perimeter planting strip to consist of a grass lawn only, and to eliminate the requirement that it include trees and shrub. To eliminate landscape island tree requirement in landscape island, to eliminate all tree requirement, 7 total. The airport, they require for safety reason not to have trees or shrubs because they attract animal life or birds, and they cause a lot of safety issues, as per plan submitted.
Okay, yeah, those trees can attract airplanes as well, so. Is there a second to Mr. Hannah's motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Sibbett seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let the record show then that this is approved unanimously. Mr. Dodo,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay. 20-16 Rose Hill, the Women's Center of Danbury.
I make a motion to approve 2016, the Women's Center of Greater Danbury, contract purchaser, 8995 Rose Hill Avenue, portion of 26 Franklin Street. Section 4D3, reduce minimum side yard from 20 feet to 15 feet. Section 4D3A, reduce minimum rear yard from 25 feet to 20 feet. Section 4G4A1, eliminate the requirement to screen parking along the side yard between parcel 1 and parcel 2. Section 4G4B1, allow location of parking between the street and the principal building. Section 4G4B2, eliminate building street wall requirement. Section 4G4B3, eliminate the mean front setback requirements. The hardship is the shape of the lot and the fact that it's inside a 100-year flood. And it's a well-needed building for the city of Danbury.
Second.
Mr. Hannah seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Let the record show it was approved unanimously.
Nice job,
Thank you
Peter and
very
Ben.
We
Thank
have,
you all.
we have two other matters. One, we're going to, one, we're just going to move to another meeting. But on the agenda, the first matter is the approval of minutes of the 14th. And we definitely have enough here to approve those minutes from the 14th. Anyone want
Make a
to?
motion to approve the minute from May 14, 2020.
All right.
I
Second,
second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Rivas seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. Minutes are approved. We have had writing on our agenda the bylaws that we don't have that it seems we should have. I don't know how thoroughly you've read them, but at this point, we're going to postpone again. Chairman Jowdy has been in touch with Robin Edwards, and she's going to run a couple of these concerns or questions in the bylaws past the mayor. So we'll let them marinate on that a little longer and then see what revisions come back and see if we like them and vote on them at that point in time. All right. Mary, are you something you? Yes.
Yes, I'm so sorry. My connection went out right before there was a second on the motion for Myrie Brook. So I didn't catch who seconded the Myrie Brook motion.
Let's see, who made
Michael
them?
Michael
was,
Tibbet made the
I
motion.
did. I
Michael
did.
made the motion, yes.
Hey, Michael Civet.
Yes.
Mr. Hannah,
Yes.
Mr. Hannah
Yeah.
seconded.
I second it.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you
Wow.
very much.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the evening?
That's it.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I
Second.
second.
Second was Mr. Civet, Michael?
No, Mr. Rivas.
Mr. Rivas, oh, there you are. You're in the upper left. Okay, you got the top spot. Okay, all right. Motion approved. Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Okay.
Good job, everybody.
See you next time.